What did you discover about your fiancé the night before your wedding that changed everything? Before I dive into this story that completely changed my life, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you're going to want to hear how this nightmare unfolds. Well, that's a question I never thought I'd have to answer in my life. But after what happened at my wedding, I discovered that sometimes you only need 24 hours to realize you've just made the biggest mistake of your existence. Mark and I had been together for 3 years when we decided to get married. On paper, he seemed absolutely perfect. Successful in his career, charming, intelligent. All my friends always said I was damn lucky to have found a guy like him. But during our relationship, especially in the last year, I started noticing some things, let's say, strange. Mark had this obsessive and almost sick need to control absolutely everything around us. At the beginning of the relationship, I even thought it was kind of cute how he wanted to plan our dates down to the smallest details. Which restaurant, what time, what clothes I should wear, which route to take. But over time, I realized he would get genuinely irritated and even aggressive when things didn't go exactly as he had planned in his head. He also had this very strange thing with money. Not that he was stingy or cheap, but he always made sure to mention exactly how much he spent on me, as if he was keeping a detailed mental accounting of all our expenses. That dinner at the Italian restaurant cost $200. Your birthday present was $500. The beach trip last month was almost $2,000. Always with this forced smile on his face, as if it were an innocent joke. But I knew very well it wasn't. And there was the extremely complicated issue of his family. Mark's mother, Sandra, simply never accepted me from day one. She always made passive-aggressive comments about literally everything. My clothes, my job, my family, my education, even the way I talked. Oh, how interesting that blouse of yours, dear. Where did you buy it? At a department store? Or, your mother works at a public school, right? How noble of her. Mark never ever defended me in these situations. He always said it was her way, and that I was being too sensitive or misinterpreting things. But even with all these problems, I thought I loved him, or at least, I was convinced I loved him. And when he proposed to me on a romantic night at a fancy restaurant, I said yes without hesitation because I thought maybe marriage would change all these things. As if the official commitment would magically make him value me more, respect me more, defend me more. What a complete idiot I was. The wedding was scheduled for a beautiful Saturday at the end of May. I had dreamed of this day since I was a little girl. Perfect white dress, flowers everywhere. All family and friends gathered to celebrate our love. We spent a real fortune on the party, mainly because Mark insisted on doing something really memorable, and that would impress everyone. The morning of the wedding started absolutely normal and perfect. I was at the beauty salon getting ready with my 5 bridesmaids, nervous but genuinely happy and excited. My mother was there with me, helping with the final details of the dress, organizing the bouquet flowers, doing those things that mothers do. Everything seemed like a dream come true. Until around 11 a.m., my maid of honor, Jessica, who had been my best friend since adolescence, came close to me with a very strange and worried expression on her face. "Liz, you need to see something here," she said in a low voice, showing me her phone screen. It was a photo on Instagram of Mark, posted exactly 2 hours ago at 9 a.m., when he should have been at home getting ready peacefully for our wedding that would start at 2 p.m. The photo showed him at a nightclub I didn't even know existed, completely drunk and out of his mind, with his arms shamelessly around 2 blonde women I had never seen in my life. He was wearing an open shirt, sunglasses, even though it was morning, and that stupid smile of someone who drank too much. The caption of the photo said, "Last night of freedom, worth it." I was completely paralyzed, as if someone had thrown a bucket of ice water on my head. My mother immediately noticed my shocked expression and asked what was happening. When I showed her the photo, she became absolutely furious. "Where exactly was he last night?" she asked with that controlled voice she uses when she's about to explode. Didn't he tell you he was going to stay home resting to be perfect for you two? Exactly that. He had blatantly lied to me the night before when I called him around 10 p.m. to say goodnight and that I was excited for the big day. He told me he was already in pajamas, that he was going to take a relaxing bath and sleep early to be absolutely perfect for our wedding. Meanwhile, he was at a nightclub, drinking with other women and posting on Instagram as if he was celebrating getting rid of me. But the worst, much worse, was yet to come. My mother, trying to be the voice of reason in the middle of chaos, suggested I call him immediately to clarify the situation. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation, she said, although the expression on her face made it very clear she didn't believe it at all. I called Mark 3 times in a row. He didn't answer any of the calls. I sent messages on WhatsApp. He read them and didn't respond. That's when Jessica, who had continued investigating while I was trying to contact him, showed me one more thing that made my world completely collapse. She had stalked the Instagram of the 2 women in the photo. One of them, a blonde named Bruna, who had a profile full of sexy photos, had posted several stories from the previous night. And in one of those stories, at 3 a.m., there was a very clear photo of Mark kissing her passionately, with his hand on her face. My world literally collapsed at that moment. I was there, dressed in my dream wedding dress that cost a fortune, 2 hours before the ceremony that cost even more fortune, with 120 guests already on their way to the church, discovering that my future husband had betrayed me on the eve of our wedding, and not just betrayed. He had lied about where he was, had posted about it on social media as if it were something to be proud of, and had kissed another woman a few hours before promising eternal fidelity to me. But my mother, in a desperate attempt to save the situation, convinced me not to cancel everything at the last minute. Maybe it's just a bachelor party that got completely out of control, she said, clearly trying to convince herself as much as me. Maybe he drank too much and made a mistake. You can talk seriously after the ceremony. Everything is already paid for. All the guests are coming. The church is decorated. I should have canceled everything right there. I should have sent everyone away. Should have faced the shame and embarrassment. But I was in complete shock. My brain wasn't working right, and I ended up agreeing to go through with the wedding, thinking that maybe we could solve all this later. That maybe it really was just a terrible mistake. The process was relatively quick and simple. If you're as shocked as I was at this point, make sure you're subscribed because this story gets so much worse, and you won't believe how it ends. Hit that like button if you're already feeling secondhand embarrassment for me. Mark arrived at the ceremony just 15 minutes before the scheduled time, when I was already getting desperate thinking he wasn't going to show up. He was visibly hungover, with swollen and red eyes, pale face, and smelling of alcohol and cigarettes, even after clearly trying to disguise it with perfume. When I saw him waiting at the altar, all the anger and disappointment I was trying to control exploded inside me. During the ceremony, when we got to the ring exchange part, I whispered to him with the fakest smile of my life, "We're going to have a very serious conversation about last night after all this." He became visibly pale, almost green, but tried to pretend he didn't know what I was talking about, giving that nervous smile of his. The entire ceremony was a complete blur. I said yes, completely mechanically, but my head was racing. I kept thinking about that damn photo, that disgusting kiss, those blatant lies. Every word from the priest sounded like a cruel joke. At the party, things only got exponentially worse. Mark was drinking a lot, much more than normal, as if he was trying to drown some guilt or simply didn't care anymore about keeping up appearances. And he started saying things that made me even angrier and more disgusted. During his speech to the guests, he made several jokes about the ball and chain, and about how bachelor life is finally over, guys. Everyone laughed as if it were hilarious, but I knew it wasn't a joke. He really saw our marriage as a prison, as the end of fun in his life. But the moment that absolutely broke everything was when I finally managed to pull him aside during the party and confront him directly. I showed him the photos on my phone, one by one. "Can you explain this to me?" I asked, trying to keep my voice controlled. He looked at the photos and didn't deny it. Actually, he gave a little laugh as if it were something funny. "Relax, Liz. It was just a bachelor party that got out of control. It doesn't mean absolutely anything. You kissed another woman. You lied to me about where you were. So what? Now we're officially married. This won't happen anymore. It was just to get it out of my head before tying myself down for good." His coldness, the complete lack of remorse, shocked me more than the betrayal itself. He wasn't sorry at all. He was irritated for being caught, bothered that I was making drama about it. It was at that exact moment that I realized with crystal clarity that I had just married a complete stranger. Someone who didn't love me, didn't respect me, and saw me as an obstacle to his fun. I spent the wedding night completely alone in the most expensive hotel room in the city. Mark got so drunk at the party that he ended up passing out on the living room sofa of the suite. I stayed awake all night, still in my wedding dress, crying and thinking about how my life had become this nightmare in less than 12 hours. The next morning, Sunday at 7 a.m., I called a divorce lawyer that a friend had recommended years before. I explained the whole situation and scheduled an emergency consultation for Monday at 8 a.m. When Mark finally woke up, around 11 a.m., with a monstrous hangover, I had already made my decision irreversibly. I want a divorce, I told him, still in a bathrobe, with my bags already packed. He thought I was being completely dramatic and exaggerated. Because of a bachelor party? You're going crazy, Liz. Everyone does this. It's not just about the bachelor party, Mark. It's about the constant lies, about the complete disrespect, about how you treat me like I'm a burden in your life. I cannot and will not stay married to someone who sees our marriage as a prison and sees me as a jailer. He tried to convince me to think better, said I was being too emotional and irrational, that everyone makes mistakes, and that I should forgive and forget like a good wife. But every word that came out of his mouth only confirmed even more that my decision was right. On Monday, at 8 a.m. sharp, I was at the lawyer's office officially filing for divorce. Technically, we hadn't even completed 36 hours of being officially married. The process was relatively quick and simple because we had no significant assets in common, no children involved, and I wanted absolutely nothing from him except my freedom back. Mark was completely furious when he realized I was absolutely serious, but there was no going back. Today, 2 years after this traumatic experience, I look back and constantly ask myself how I couldn't see all those glaring signs before. All the red flags were there, clear as day: the obsessive control, the lack of basic respect, the constant lies, the toxic family, the way he treated me like property. But I'm also deeply proud of having had the courage to get out of that situation when I realized the mistake. Many people told me I should have tried to save the marriage, that everyone makes mistakes and that marriage is work. But I knew it wasn't about making mistakes or working on problems. It was about him showing exactly who he really was underneath the mask. My entire family stood by my side, which surprised me a lot. My mother, who initially had encouraged me to go through with the wedding to avoid embarrassment, later told me she was proud of my courage and determination. "You always deserved something much better from day one," she said. "I should have encouraged you to break up with him a long time ago." And she was completely right. Today, I'm in an infinitely better relationship with someone who respects me, values me, defends me, and treats me like a true partner. Someone who would never put me through the humiliation and disrespect that Mark put me through. Someone who sees our relationship as a blessing, not as a prison. Sometimes people ask me if I regret marrying him, since it was such a painful experience. The answer is no, because that terrible experience taught me valuable lessons about never again accepting less than I deserve, about trusting my instincts, and about the importance of having high standards. And it taught me that sometimes you only need a day, or even a few hours, to realize with absolute certainty that you're with the completely wrong person. If you're reading this and recognize some of these behaviors and signs in your current relationship, please don't ignore them, like I ignored them for so long. I almost wasted the best years of my life with someone who didn't truly love me and never would. You deserve someone who sees you as a prize, not as a prison. You deserve someone who chooses you every day, not someone who needs to tie themselves down to you. And you definitely deserve someone who doesn't need to lie about where they are or what they're doing on the eve of your wedding. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have canceled the wedding right there? Or would you have gone through with it like I did? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this story helped you see some red flags in your own life, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes we all need that wake-up call to realize we deserve better.